In my past life, I lifted the mask from the face of the Miaojiang prince, inadvertently breaking his lover's curse. This forced him to marry me, but after the wedding, I learned that the one he truly loved was my closest friend. That day, he waited at the bridgehead, hoping for Ji Lingsu to come and remove his mask. So when Ji Lingsu fell ill, he did not hesitate to use me to cultivate the Ji, drawing my blood daily to make medicine for her. The one I should have married is Susu. Who told you to snatch my mask first? This is what you owe her. These hurtful words, I remembered for a lifetime. So, in this new life, when Wu Mingjiao fell into my arms with the jostling crowd, I stepped aside. In his astonished gaze, I pushed Ji Lingsu right in front of him. I returned to the lantern festival of my past life. I strolled alongside the noble ladies. Amidst the dazzling glow of the lanterns, the young hostage from Miaojiang, Wu Mingjiao, stood at the head of the bridge, anxiously waiting for someone. The youth in black robes, adorned with silver ornaments, drew many gazes with the Azura mask on his face. Upon seeing me, his gaze turned dark and deep. Pausing for a moment, my breath couldn't help but stop for a moment. In this life, I no longer wished to pass by his side. But the bustling crowd pushed me onto the stone bridge. The moment Wu Mingjiao was knocked down, just like in the previous life, she fell into my arms once again, but this time, I hastily stepped back. Avoiding her as if she were a flood or a wild beast, Wu Mingjiao, who had fallen to the ground, stared at me in astonishment through her mask. Seeing me turn and walk away, he murmured my name in disbelief. Rongju, you. The little hostage from Miaojiang crashed into the stone pillar, his forehead scraped and his face marred. But he didn't care at all. The blood made his face appear even more bewitching and somber. His reddened eyes fixed intently in my direction. I stepped aside, pulling my close friend Ji Lingsu beside me and pushing her in front of him. Susu, go take care of him. Ji Lingsu was taken aback for a moment. After seeing the blood all over his face, she hurriedly helped him up. She took out her own handkerchief to wipe the blood from his face. Your Highness the Prince, the wound on your face is deep. I need to remove your mask to examine it. She reached out her hand, anxiously trying to remove the mask from Wu Mingjiao's face. Unlike the previous life, Wu Mingjiao made no attempt to stop her. His gaze remained dark and unfathomable, fixed intently on me. He urgently said something to Ji Lingsu. Ji Lingsu pulled him back again. I didn't continue watching. Then she turned and followed the crowd away. This time, I didn't step in between him and Ji Lingsu. Will he finally get what he wants? In my previous life, Wu Mingjiao fell into my arms, his face also cut. In the urgency of the moment, I lifted the mask from his face. Under the hazy lights of the entire city, the way he looked at me shifted from astonishment to panic, and finally transformed into an uncontrollable affection. After he straightened up, he forcibly averted his gaze, his face slightly pale. He looked helplessly at Ji Lingsu beside me. At that time, I didn't know that a lover's Ji had been planted on the mask. According to the customs of Miaojiang, all young men of Miaojiang must wear such a mask after they come of age. Until plucked by the one who holds their heart, the man would then be under the control of the lover's Ji, forever devoted to his beloved. If I had been a bit wiser in my past life, if I had understood the look in his eyes when he gazed at Ji Lingsu, I wouldn't have ended up as a Ji puppet. Behind me came the sound of footsteps in pursuit. I was taken aback and quickened my pace, not even daring to look back. With the lesson from my past life, I no longer dared to provoke him. After marrying Wu Mingjiao, he hardly ever shared a room with me, even though whenever he got close to me, the Ji worms inside his body would gnaw at him, making him unable to resist the urge to be near me. But he still managed to hold back. Later, I came to understand that he was preserving his purity for the one he loved. The lover's Ji made it impossible for him to control his body, but he could restrain his heart. In the end, it was I who took the initiative to set a schedule. Agreeing to share a bed on the 15th of each month, he remained silent, as if having endured for a long time, before coldly agreeing, I'll do as you say. In the 3rd year of their marriage, Ji Lingsu contracted a strange illness. He began to deceive me into eating the Ji insects, using my body to cultivate them. Every day that followed was filled with unbearable agony. Wu Mingjiao locked me in a pitch-dark room, forbidding me from stepping outside or seeing anyone, including my own parents. But that wasn't enough. Every day, he would come on time to personally drain my blood. That kind of pain repeated itself day after day. Thick, overlapping scars grew on my wrist. In the end, I was the first to go mad, to regret. I no longer cooperated with his bloodletting, breaking down in tears, pressing a dagger to my throat, demanding to divorce him. Looking at the mess all over the floor, Wu Mingjiao stood frozen in place. His fingertips trembling slightly beneath his dark sleeves before he suddenly clenched them tight. His cool, beautiful eyes met mine. If you hadn't been the first to tear off my mask, why would I have married you, and missed out on Susu? All of this is just what you owe her, what you deserve to suffer. If there were a chance to start over, I beg you to stay far away from me, and it would be best if we never met again. Every word he uttered was like a poisoned nail, hammered mercilessly into my heart. That memory is something I dare not even recall. Thankfully, in this life, it wasn't me who tore off his mask. I have nothing to do with him anymore. Not long after the Lantern Festival had passed, as in my previous life, a plague broke out in the northwest. I entered the Imperial Palace, carrying the prescription that the Imperial physicians had developed in my past life, and knelt before the Emperor. I am willing to go to the northwest to stop the spread of the plague and share your Majesty's worries. This prescription can suppress the plague and save the lives of countless people. The same day, the Emperor personally decreed that I should follow the army to the northwest. He pointed at the young general of the Song family. Song Beimu, you must protect Miss Rong and escort her safely to the northwest. If anything happens to her, I will hold you accountable. The young general in military attire, kneeling before the Emperor, swore with his life, I will spare no effort, even at the cost of my own life, to protect her. Stepping out of the palace, scattered flakes of snow drifted down outside. This journey leads north. When I return, it might already be half a year later. Thinking back to my past life, in half a year, I would have already married Wu Mingjiao. Wu Mingjiao and I didn't start off hating each other to the bone, either. Not long after I removed his lover's curse, he would also come to the mansion every day to watch over me, bringing me all sorts of strange and exotic trinkets that could only be found in Miaojiang. He would bring the little Gu insects he raised to show me. I once said I wanted to see them dance. He then commanded the Gu insects to flutter and dance around me, soaring up and down. The boy's pitch-black eyes sparkled, the love within them so thick it made my cheeks burn. He would also climb up the wall. In the night, he would play a Miao folk tune for me, one that speaks of love to a sweetheart. On the day of our wedding, Ji Lingsu came to attend my wedding. Wu Mingjiao stared at her with a pale face, unable to look away for a long time. It was as if he remembered everything. He remembered who his beloved truly was. From that day on, Wu Mingjiao grew colder toward me with each passing day, until I was tormented by the Gu insects to the point of exhaustion, coughing up blood and dying in his arms. As I came back to my senses, an oil paper umbrella appeared above my head, shielding me from all the wind and snow. I looked at the person beside me in surprise. Song Beimu tilted the umbrella toward me, his armored shoulders dusted with a light layer of snow. General Song, I'm fine, you don't need to escort me. The corners of his eyes crinkled, the intimidating aura gone, revealing a pair of sharp, pointed canine teeth. Your Majesty, allow me to stay by your side and protect you at all times. How dare I disobey the imperial decree? Miss Rong, from now on, my life is in your hands. He escorted me back to the entrance of my residence and pressed that oil paper umbrella into my hand. In 3 days, I will lead the troops to the northwest. The northwest is bitterly cold, and as a young woman, your constitution is delicate. Remember to prepare well and bring plenty of warm clothing. I was momentarily dazed, then managed a faint smile and nodded. Thank you for your concern, General Song. By the time I walked back, a gust of wind chilled the tip of my nose red and made my eyes sting. Inappropriately, I thought of my past life. After the wedding, Wu Mingjiao seemed like a different person, very restrained in his closeness to me, and spoke very little with me. No matter where I went, he never asked a single question. Once, I was ill for a long time, yet he never showed up. Only when he returned, pale-faced and haggard, did he hurriedly give me the medicine. It was from a servant's slip of the tongue that I learned that during the days of my illness, Ji Lingsu had also fallen ill. Wu Mingjiao had stayed by her side, yet I could never compare to the one who truly held his heart. By the time I finished packing for my journey to the northwest, the final day had arrived. Wu Mingjiao and I never had the chance to meet again. As my closest confidant and dear friend, Ji Lingsu hosted a farewell banquet in my honor. I didn't want to go. Ji Lingsu held me in her arms. The plague is spreading in the northwest. It's so dangerous. Who knows when you'll be able to return once you go. All the words I wanted to say to refuse were stuck in my throat. My heart softened as well. In truth, I harbored hatred in my past life as well, yet I never knew exactly who I should hate. After much thought, I realized it was I who stole the marriage that rightfully belonged to her. If I had not removed Wu Mingjiao's mask back then, they would have long been united, and I would not have been reduced to a puppet. I hate Wu Mingjiao, and I hate myself. Slowly, I raised my hand and held her tightly, as if all those obsessions had finally turned to smoke. Lingsu, I give him back to you in this lifetime. You must find joy in every passing year. She was taken aback for a moment. Arju. What are you saying? I don't understand. I smiled. It doesn't matter if she doesn't understand now. One day, she will. At the banquet, I indulged myself and drank a lot of wine, as if trying to vent all the frustrations from my past 3 years of life. I just never expected to see Wu Mingjiao here. His Miao attire and the swaying silver earrings on his ear tips made him stand out in the crowd, visible from afar at a single glance. After starting over, I deliberately avoided him. I steered clear of any chance to meet him. Instinctively, I lowered my face in fear. I asked Ji Lingsu beside me, "Isn't this my farewell party? Why is he here too?" Ji Lingsu blushed slightly. She took my hand and whispered very softly, "Last time he injured his face. I took him to the clinic and even paid for his medicine. After that, we started keeping in touch. We only meet occasionally, just to talk. The Miao people are skilled at raising Jiyu. I want him to teach me." Seeing the blush rise on her face, I was lost in thought for a moment. My heart turned cold. I had pestered him before, asking him to teach me the art of Jiyu. All I got in return were his icy words. "Just because you want to learn, does that mean I have to teach you? The Jiyu techniques of Miaojiang are ever-changing and complex. You won't be able to master them. Even if you could, I wouldn't want to teach you. It would be a waste of time." It turns out, people are different from one another. He simply didn't want to invest time and patience in me. Fortunately, in this life, Wu Mingjiao and I aren't even considered acquaintances. Ji Lingsu thought I disliked having unrelated people at the banquet and was still explaining to me, "He was invited by me. It's all my fault. I just mentioned casually that you were going to the northwest and that we should see you off." He suddenly said he wanted to come to the banquet, and I couldn't really refuse. Seeing Wu Mingjiao again, I thought I would have some special reaction, but I only responded with a faint acknowledgement. Wu Mingjiao came over to toast me farewell, standing next to Ji Lingsu. They looked like a perfect match. His gaze was dark as he looked at me. It held too many emotions I couldn't understand, but I no longer care. So, fueled by the wine, I raised my glass to them and sincerely wished, "Next time I return, I'll drink to your wedding. Prince, you must treat her well. Don't break her heart the way you tormented me." Wu Mingjiao's body instantly stiffened. He stared at me coldly, gripping the wine glass tightly, his knuckles protruding and turning white. The wine in the glass actually splashed out more than half. I steadied my gaze. Only then did I notice that the silver Azura mask was still on his face. Such a perfect opportunity during the Lantern Festival. He actually didn't let Ji Lingsu take it off. What on earth is he thinking? The alcohol has left my mind in a complete haze. Since I can't figure it out, I might as well stop trying. As the banquet was drawing to a close, my entire body felt scorching hot, as if countless venomous insects were crawling and gnawing. To keep Ji Lingsu from worrying, I stumbled around, searching for a room to calm myself down and wait for the alcohol to wear off. Inside the room, I wasn't alone. The dark, cold figure emerged from behind the bed curtains like a hunter who had been waiting for a long time. As I drew closer to him, the burning heat within my body grew even more intense. Clamoring for release, I lifted my hazy, unfocused eyes and, with great difficulty and fear, uttered his name, Wu Mingjiao. Why, in the previous life, he resented me for becoming his wife before Ji Lingsu, but after starting over, I have been avoiding him at every turn. Pushing Ji Lingsu right into his path, his cold, slender fingertips brushed against my cheek. I bit through the tip of my tongue to suppress the urge to press closer. The masked, ghostly and bewitching youth gently wiped the blood from the corner of my lips. His fingertip pried open my lips. Ju, you don't have to hold back, you have the sub-Gu inside you, you can't help but crave me. My consciousness grew increasingly muddled. He took my hand and guided it to touch the cold mask on his face. He whispered seductively, Ju, help me get it down. These words exploded in my mind like a thunderclap. The experiences of my past life flashed through my mind one by one. Even after I died, my parents, suppressing their grief, went to his door to demand my remains. All they received was his icy reply. Remains, they were burned to ashes and scattered by me. In an instant, my mother seemed to age 10 years, weeping until she was drenched in tears. Jua, it's my fault. I shouldn't have agreed to this marriage back then, believing he would treat you well, only to push you into a pit of fire. In this new life, Jua, you must keep your eyes open. Don't end up with your bones scattered and lost again. Wu Mingjiao watched coldly as my parents hunched over, ultimately having no choice but to leave together. At night, he gently stroked my urn, his gaze dark and heavy. I won't hand you over to anyone, Rongju, even in death, you can only remain by my side. My soul, not yet fully dispersed, trembled deeply with a chill. Only then did I realize how gravely mistaken I had been, having provoked a being I should never have crossed. Not even death could grant me peace. My fingers touched the cold azura mask on his face, as if shocked by electricity. I jerked my hand away. Even though the child Gu in my body yearned for him intensely, I still came to my senses. Wait a moment, I'll go get Lingsu. In this life, even if it means death. I dare not take off his mask anymore. The poison in my body feels like being scorched by flames, as if countless tiny insects are gnawing at me. I still distanced myself from Wu Mingjiao, staggering towards the door. Behind me, the pair of bewitching eyes beneath the mask were chilling to the extreme. His hand, hidden beneath his dark robe, lifted and forcefully pulled me, imprisoning me in his embrace. I lifted my gaze in a daze, meeting those eyes that had once hated me to the bone in a past life. Now filled with both anger and frustration, holding back until the corners of his eyes flushed red. Rongju, why are you avoiding me? I told you to take off my mask, not someone else. Don't push me away to others. His voice trembled with a fragile vulnerability. I froze in his embrace. Thinking I must have misheard, he said it himself. If given another chance, I would stay far away from him, and it would be best if we never met. I did it. His eyes reddened again. Still don't get it. I've fallen for you, Ju. I want to marry you, to be with you for a lifetime. He seemed afraid of scaring me. He bent down, his tall frame towering over mine. He actively brought his masked face close to mine. His voice was low and husky, seductively explaining to me, there's a love potion on the mask. Once you take it off, I will love only you for the rest of my life. No, I felt a chill run through my body, trembling uncontrollably. Countless nights, he left me alone in an empty room. Even the only time we shared a bed on the 15th day of the month was something I had to beg for. His body could not help but submit to me, yet his heart was never with me. If Ji Lingsu were ever in trouble, he would endure the backlash of the lover's curse without hesitation and rush to her side, leaving me behind. Don't, I won't take it off. I don't know when it started, but tears were streaming down my face. Wu Mingjiao looked at my tear-streaked face. His gaze both flustered and coldly somber, and he fell silent. So afraid of me, have I ever done anything to hurt you? He asked me with a self-mocking, light laugh. That was a matter of a past life. But I know what will happen next. He will regret it, he will hate me, and he will use me to raise a Gu for Ji Lingsu. That kind of pain, experiencing it once in a lifetime is enough. The one you love isn't me, it's Ji Lingsu. Don't get it wrong again, I said to him softly. My voice choked with tears. Wu Mingjiao suddenly held me tightly in his arms, lips pressed tightly together. His dark gaze seemed to shatter. His voice was hoarse. No, it was never her. Good Ju, take off my mask. This time I won't. His fingers firmly grasped mine, slowly guiding them toward his mask. With just a little more pressure, the lover's curse mask on his face would be torn off by me once again. Your Highness the Prince, do you enjoy making things difficult for others so much? A lazy, amused voice rang out. Song Beimu, with a blade of grass between his teeth, leaned lazily against the doorframe. Under Wu Mingjiao's icy, hostile gaze, He gripped my shoulder. With his other arm, he pulled me close to his side. My apologies for the offense, Prince. I am under orders to ensure her safety. Until the epidemic in the northwest is under control, Miss Roan must not suffer the slightest harm. He pulled me along all the way out of the tavern. I held on for the entire journey. The GU worms inside my body flared up, and I could no longer hold on, collapsing to the ground. Just before I lost consciousness, someone was quicker to steady me. Waking up again, I boarded the carriage heading north. There was another person in the carriage, dressed in military attire, sitting quietly beside me. Only when he noticed I had awakened did he open his eyes. As I awoke, the GU worms within me stirred to life as well, a scorching, tingling sensation intertwined within my body. For anyone else, it would have been unbearable even for a moment, but I had once been imprisoned by Wu Mingjiao in a forbidden chamber, where I spent a year as a GU vessel. I've experienced even more terrifying GU poison outbreaks, so I can still endure calmly. It's just that my face is paler than usual. If you're suffering, why didn't you say anything? The journey to the northwest is long. How much longer can a young woman like you endure? Song Beimu lowered his gaze and asked me gently. With a hint of helplessness, the moment I spoke, I realized my voice was hoarse beyond recognition, and I stared at him blankly. Does the young general intend to help me break the curse? I had seen most of the GU insects raised by Wu Mingjiao. This was the Mandarin duck GU. If I don't find him, then I'll have to find another man to temporarily suppress it. The upright young general of the Song family, his jade-like ears instantly flushed a deep red. Of course not. I'm different from that hostage from Miaojiang. I, the general, would never take advantage of someone in a vulnerable position. He took out a pill he always carried with him, awkwardly shifting his gaze away. If you take this, it can suppress the GU poison in your body. After glancing at it twice, I took it from his palm and said, "Thank you, young general. There are very few medicines in the world that can cure the poison of Wu Mingjiao's GU. After becoming a GU person, I also thought about saving myself." Behind his back, I tried various herbs, deluding myself into thinking I could suppress the pain within my body, but it was all in vain. Another time, Wu Mingjiao caught me. His face was dark. Concealing panic, he grabbed my throat, forcing me to spit it all out. "Who allowed you to take medicine recklessly? Do you know that some medicines can clash with the GU worms in your body?" He frowned, his tone icy and urgent. I vomited until my eyes were blurred with tears. My palms were red from the marks of my own fingernails. "I know, taking those medications affects the parasites in my body, which means I can't use my blood to treat Ji Lingsu's illness. The one he cares about has never been me. What are you thanking me for? I promised the Emperor that I would take good care of you," he said with a light, casual tone. The pill he gave me was likely a secret medicine from the Song family, rare and hard to find in the world, originally meant to save his own life. Yet Song Beimu gave it to me. After arriving in the northern lands, Song Beimu moved into the room next to mine to make it easier to protect me. In my previous life, after marrying Wu Mingjiao, I stayed in the imperial capital. I never made it to the north. Only upon arriving here did I realize that the epidemic was far more severe than imagined. More than half of the people were infected, coughing up blood. After arriving here, I had long since put behind me the grudges and entanglements with Wu Mingjiao. Every day was so busy that my feet barely touched the ground. Following the prescription, I searched for medicinal herbs that could cure the epidemic. There are several types of herbs that have already run out in the city. It was Song Beimu who accompanied me into the mountains to search for them. Once, a heavy fog descended upon the mountains. I slipped and fell down a slope. Song Beimu in front didn't hesitate and jumped down after me. I had sprained my ankle and couldn't move. He took off his cloak, draped it over me, and carried me on his back through the mountain path all night. Unable to move, I lay on his shoulder. His shoulders were broad and steady, and beneath his military uniform, his body temperature felt warmer than that of an ordinary person. I couldn't help but recall my past life. Had I ever been this close to Wu Mingjiao before? Not even once. Whenever Ji Lingsu appeared, his gaze would linger on her. Lost in thought as he watched her, I was separated from the crowd, lost an embroidered shoe, sprained my ankle, and couldn't move. I could only crouch on the bustling street, waiting for him to remember me, waiting for him to come find me. Wu Mingjiao didn't take long to arrive, But to me, it felt like an unbearably long and utterly hopeless time. I cried and threw a tantrum, saying I didn't want to marry him anymore. A flicker of panic flashed in his eyes. His tone cold and rigid as he told me to stop making a scene. He would never agree. That day, Wu Mingjiao did not carry me back either. He found sedan bearers and watched as I got into the sedan chair. Looking back now, I still think Wu Mingjiao was a very strange person. He avoids all closeness with me, maintaining a cold distance, his heart set on someone else, yet unwilling to divorce me. I leaned on Song Beimu's shoulder, drowsy and struggling to stay awake as I spoke to him. The young general didn't have to jump down. He could have waited until dawn to send someone to rescue me. I thought, if it were Wu Mingjiao instead, even though we are already husband and wife, he would still leave me behind. What nonsense are you talking about? In the night, his voice was as low as the sound of a zither. How could I possibly leave you alone in the mountains, facing the pitch-black mountains alone? How terrified you must have been. He cleared his throat, as if to cover something up. I promised the emperor that I would ensure your safety. The imperial decree cannot be disobeyed. After gathering all the medicinal herbs, I began setting up a large pot to distribute medicinal soup to the people in the north. Song Beimu carried a sword and was responsible for maintaining order. It was originally thought that, following the prescription from the previous life, the epidemic could be quickly brought under control. After bowls of medicinal soup were given to the patients, there was still no sign of improvement. Could it be that the prescription circulated in the palace in the previous life was flawed? Those infected with the plague died one after another. The truly effective prescription had not yet been developed. Those patients had no patience to wait any longer. Just as I was distributing the medicinal broth once again, a person infected with the plague suddenly rushed out, lunging at me with a blood-stained dagger, a conclusion reached by the imperial physician in my previous life. The plague in the northern lands can be transmitted through the blood coughed up by patients. His cheeks sunken. He roared madly. The court deceived us. This plague is a divine punishment. There's simply no way to cure it. They sent a female physician to brush us off and fool us. Since we're all going to die anyway, we might as well all die together. His roar stirred up the people's hearts. I tried to calm myself and shouted loudly at them. There will be a cure for the plague. Just wait 2 more days. My voice was drowned out by complaints and resentful cries. As countless infected people surged forward, Song Beimu held his sword and stood in front of me. Rongju, go hide quickly. What about you? He didn't answer my question, as countless hoes and axes came swinging toward him. The Song family had served in the military for generations, loyal and courageous. Song Beimu could not bring himself to strike the common people, only using his sword to parry and defend, but there were simply too many people rushing forward. Soon, blood was drawn on his body. It wasn't until the authorities dispatched troops that the situation was brought under control. I hid behind the stove where the medicine was being brewed. Song Beimu, worried that those people might discover me, stood in front of the stove. Even though he was covered in blood, he didn't step aside. When he was taken back to his residence, he was still unconscious. He had several wounds on his body. It was impossible to tell whether the bloodstains on his body were his own or those of the patients. The officials, fearing they might contract the plague, hurriedly left after delivering Song Beimu. Before leaving, they offered an apologetic smile. Please trouble Miss Rong to take care of the general for a few days. I nodded in agreement. To be honest, it was because of me that Song Beimu suffered such severe injuries. After the others had left, I fetched hot water and removed the armor that had fused with his flesh and blood. Using a damp cloth, I wiped away the bloodstains from his body. I fetched needle and thread, stitching up the deeper wounds, then poured strong liquor over them. The liquor stung the wounds, but the man on the bed showed no reaction. I had done all I could, and could only pray that Song Beimu would turn misfortune into fortune. If he hadn't given me that life-saving elixir, he might still have had a chance to survive. Counting it up, I owe him my life. By midnight, the unconscious person on the bed was running a high fever. His handsome face was flushed with a burning heat. I undid his clothes and wiped him down over and over to cool his fever. After being utterly exhausted, I climbed onto the bed and lay down beside Song Beimu, so that if there were any changes in his condition, I would sense them immediately and wake up, half asleep and half awake. Someone carefully pulled me into their embrace and covered me with the quilt. Waking up again, I was under the same blanket with Song Beimu. I was still in his arms, completely unclothed. Instantly, I was jolted awake by fear. Song Beimu also woke up, his starry eyes gazing at me with a hint of a smile. "You've seen all of me, shouldn't you take responsibility for me?" I froze beside him, my face turned pale. The past life memories I wanted to forget resurfaced. Because I had unintentionally removed Wu Mingzhao's mask, according to Miao customs, he had to marry me, so I've gambled away my entire life. I was dazed, biting my lip tightly, trembling all over from fear. Song Beimu panicked. "Rongju, what's wrong with you? You're so pale, are you feeling unwell somewhere?" He tried to get up, forgetting he was covered in wounds, and fell back in pain. "Did I scare you?" I forced a smile. "It's not your fault, I just remembered some unpleasant memories." "Sorry, General Song, it was an emergency, so I had to undo your clothes." Song Beimu's gaze was fixed intently on me. He let out a sigh of relief, returning to his usual casual demeanor, and deliberately tried to make me laugh. "Don't be scared, I was just saying it." I also let out a hum. After that, Song Beimu and I tacitly never brought up the matter again. After he woke up, he didn't contract the plague and had others come to take care of him. I spent almost the entire day inside the house. My father is the chief physician of the Imperial Hospital, so I know quite a bit about pharmacology. That prescription is problematic. We must develop an effective prescription as soon as possible. Winter arrives early in the northern lands, after a heavy snowfall. The world was left with nothing but a vast expanse of white. I never expected to see that figure in Miaojiang black robes amidst the pure white snow. The cold wind stirred the silver ornaments on Wu Mingzhao, producing a crisp, clinking sound. I didn't want to bother with him. He stood motionless outside for an entire day, until his entire body froze stiff and he collapsed in the snow. Only then did I grit my teeth and, with no other choice, bring him back to my room. He was a hostage sent from Miaojiang. If something goes wrong, it will lead to chaos. In this lifetime, I have long since drawn a clear line between him and me. If it weren't for the sake of the common people, I wouldn't have bothered with him at all. After waking up, Wu Mingzhao's pitch-black eyes beneath the mask immediately locked onto me. He called out to me, trembling with emotion, "A Jew, I knew you wouldn't abandon me." I didn't look up, continuing to write the prescription in my hand. "If the hostage is fine, please return. Playing the martyr won't work on me." He fell silent, neither speaking nor leaving. The flickering candlelight reflected in his pitch-black eyes, like 2 teardrops. I scoffed lightly. Could someone like him also feel sorrow, also shed tears? In my past life, I had also used the bitter flesh tactic. Not long after swallowing the GU worm, I felt nauseous and uncomfortable, with a bloody taste rising in my mouth. I couldn't eat anything for 3 whole days. Starving to the brink of death, I thought it might soften his heart even a little. Unfortunately, it didn't. He forced me to drink the ginseng soup, keeping me alive. "Wu Mingzhao, I can divorce you and return the position to Ji Lingsu. Let me go." 3 years of married life gradually wore away my expectations of him. His gaze swept over me, coldly fixed on my pale, gaunt face. A flicker of heartache flashed in his eyes, so fleeting it seemed like an illusion. My plea was met with an even colder tone in his voice. "If I let you go, what about Susu? Where am I supposed to find a second GU master to cure her? Those insects, you'll eat them whether you want to or not." I went mad, cursing him, telling him I hated him. I wished him a miserable death. His impossibly beautiful face only showed a faint, mocking smile. "Rongju, your greatest mistake in this life was meeting me and removing my mask. So even if we hate each other, we are bound together." Wu Mingzhao coughed weakly, picking up the prescription papers I had thrown on the ground. After understanding what I was doing, he pleaded softly, "Don't drive me away, let me be your test subject for medicine." A volunteer offering to test the medicine, why refuse what comes for free? I brewed bowl after bowl of bitter, foul-tasting medicinal soups with uncertain effects, watching coldly as he drank them down. Just as in our past life, when he used me as a vessel for his poisons, I felt no sympathy or pity for him. Several times, the medicine misfired, and he vomited uncontrollably, even bringing up blood. Once again, I brought a bowl of medicinal soup and set it before him. "Will you drink it? I don't keep useless people here. If you won't drink, then get out." His lips were purple, his eyelashes trembling faintly as he pleaded with me. I won't leave, I can keep drinking. I used Wu Mingjiao to test the medicine. Gradually, I figured out the medicinal properties and formulated a treatment for the epidemic. After sending someone to deliver it, Wu Mingjiao had accumulated too many medicinal toxins in his body, his breath was faint, and he lay unconscious in the chair. The correct prescription quickly took effect, the epidemic was alleviated, and many patients gradually recovered, but Wu Mingjiao still did not wake up. On his slender, pale neck, the blood vessels showed an abnormal purple hue, like those eerie flowers and vines from Miaojiang. I had no intention of saving him, it's just as well that he dies here, he owed me this. I never asked him to become a medicine man, did I? A victory banquet was held in the northern city, vibrant fireworks bloomed over the white snow. With the epidemic resolved, Song Beimu and I, both recovered from our injuries, were ready to return. After the banquet, Song Beimu found me and congratulated me with a smile. Miss Song, a doctor's heart is benevolent, and your skilled hands bring the dying back to life. The success in controlling the northern epidemic is all thanks to you. I smiled and raised my glass to toast with him. Only after drinking until he was a bit tipsy did Song Beimu bring up Wu Mingjiao. I heard the Miaojiang heir came to see you. I thought of the person in the room whose fate was uncertain, and just chuckled indifferently. Is that so? I don't want to have any connection with him. He should have gone back by now. Song Beimu brought me back. The room was shrouded in darkness. And I was about to light the lamp. Someone was holding me tightly from behind. I froze. Moonlight filtered through the snow on the ground, illuminating the cold mask on his face. I sneered, Your Highness the hostage is truly blessed with a long life. Is it pleasant to be a medicine man? His breath came and went softly by my ear. He spoke weakly and hoarsely. It's been so long. Can you stop hating me? Arju, take off the mask on my face. Will you, from now on? Whatever revenge you wish to take on me, I will accept it all. No, I broke free from his embrace. Not at all. The voice was calm, yet cruel. I have no feelings for you whatsoever. I don't like you. I despise you. So I will never remove the mask from your face, and you should never appear before me again. Returning to the imperial city, I was credited with saving lives during the epidemic and was summoned to the Golden Luan Hall to receive my reward. At the end of the awards, the emperor, remembering that I was 17 years old, impulsively decided to arrange a marriage for me. Among all the young men in this hall, whichever one you, Miss Rong, set your eyes on, I shall grant him to you. I stiffened. The marriage in my past life had wounded me too deeply. I had no desire to marry again so soon. But the emperor's favor was not something I could refuse. My gaze swept over the hall filled with imperial relatives and nobles. He did not linger on Wu Mingjiao for even a moment before shifting his gaze away, but I never expected. He walked to the front of the hall and knelt before the emperor. I have loved the young lady of the Murong family for many years. I beg your majesty to fulfill my solitary heart and grant me a marriage with Rong Ju. I stared at him in shock and confusion. What on earth is he doing? In his previous life, he loved Ji Lingsu so deeply. I've already let go and allowed him to have his way. So why must he still cling like this? Or does he think that in this life, I would be foolish enough to become his poison vessel again? I am also willing to marry the young lady of the Rong family. Song Beimu also made his way to the front of the great hall, kneeling down beside Wu Mingjiao, in the northwestern lands. She saved my life. I wish to offer myself in marriage, devoting my entire life to repay Miss Rong for her kindness. The hall erupted in chaos. One was the young general of the Song family, the other a hostage prince from Miaojiang. Neither would back down, both vying to marry me. Finally, the emperor spoke. Let the Rong family's daughter decide which of you she prefers. The choice is hers to make. The light in Wu Mingjiao's eyes dimmed beneath his mask. I stood up and, without any surprise, pointed at Song Beimu. On the day Song Beimu and I got married, it was an extremely grand affair. Song Beimu was overjoyed, handing out invitations to everyone he met in the military camp and chattering endlessly about how he had finally achieved his wish to marry the girl he adored. On the day of the wedding, Wu Mingjiao did not appear. I heard he had returned to Miaojiang and would likely never come back again. He already knew I did not wish to see him. He sent someone to deliver a wooden box to me, containing a wedding gift, but I was neither curious nor did I ever open it, tossed on the top shelf of the bookcase. Left to gather dust, until many years later, The daughter I had with Song Beimu knocked over the bookcase, causing the wooden box to fall and shatter. A pale blue GU insect named Floating Life flew out. I saw the vision from my past life once again. The year I was imprisoned in the dark room, my hair turned white, and my face became old and unsightly. The one who fell seriously ill was not Ji Lingsu, but me. Wu Mingjiao was afraid I would find out. So he forbade me from going out and wouldn't allow any light to enter the room, lest it reveal my appearance. All the GU insects he forced me to swallow were nourished with his heart's blood. After I smashed everything in the room and fell asleep with tears in my eyes, he finally emerged from the shadows, sat by the bedside, and gently wiped the tears from my face. His eyes shimmered, gazing silently and tenderly at my unsightly face, in the memories of my past life. It was only when the people of Miaojiang found him that I learned Ji Lingsu was the marriage partner chosen for him by Miaojiang. The lover's GU feeds on the life force of the other person. The closer the relationship, the more fiercely it feeds. Even though he restrained himself from getting close to me, I still fell ill. He had thought about transferring the love curse to Ji Lingsu, which is why he approached her. But there was no way. The moment the mask was removed, I was destined to die. Raising a GU with heart's blood is a forbidden art in Miaojiang. Those who employ this forbidden art do not live long either. Wu Mingjiao would rather I hate him than have me swallow the GU worm carrying his blood. The later bloodletting was also to alleviate the poison of the lover's GU within my body, extending my life. But he did so much, yet I only lived for a year, dying in his arms. After my death, Wu Mingjiao offered his own life as a sacrifice, letting the GU worms devour him. In exchange for a chance to start over, in this life, he found a way to break the lover's GU. But even if I could start over, I no longer love him. Awakening from the dream of a fleeting life, Song Beimu anxiously held my hand, his face gaunt, with stubble growing on his chin. My daughter also stayed by the bedside, her eyes swollen from crying. Ju, it's good that you're awake. Mother, you've been asleep for so long. Two people rushed forward, holding me tightly in their arms. I think this might be the best ending for me and Wu Mingjiao. After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. On the eve of the betrothal, I suddenly tore up the marriage contract with General Han and declared my intention to marry into the Marquis's household. In a fit of anger, he requested to be stationed at the border and vowed never to return to the capital. Over the next 5 years, he repeatedly defeated enemy forces, achieving great military feats and returning to the court in glory. I suffered multiple poisonings, and my body was already worn out, like a lamp running out of oil. The day His Majesty bestowed upon him the marriage to Princess Ningping, we happened to meet on the Long Street. Seeing me so emaciated, I was barely recognizable. He sneered. After 5 years apart, the Prime Minister's daughter seems to have fallen on such hard times she can't even afford a meal. I instinctively pulled my cloak tighter, covering the poison marks that were gradually spreading across my neck. Thank you for your concern, General. I just have a poor appetite. The general snorted coldly and turned his gaze away, as if he had seen something he despised. My wedding to the princess is approaching, and we still lack a maid of sufficient status to attend to her makeup. Why don't you take on this duty? I gently shook my head. I am but a humble person of little fortune, and dare not disturb the joyous occasion of the princess and the general's wedding. With that, I took my maid's hand and turned to leave. The moment I stepped through the mansion gate, I could no longer hold on and, after vomiting a mouthful of blood, I fell unconscious. When I woke up, I saw my mother's eyes, red from crying. Once again, unconsciously, this scene had repeated itself for 5 years. She gently brushed aside the stray hairs at my temples, then took the freshly brewed medicine from the maid's hands. Ran, drink the medicine first. That bowl of pitch-black medicine reflected my haggard face. As if mocking my incompetence, I weakly shook my head. In an instant, the poison marks on my neck seemed to come alive. What followed was a pain that felt like needles pricking all over my body. I forced myself to close my eyes tightly. Mother, this medicine is too bitter. I don't want to drink it anymore. After all, it can't save me anyway. Mother was about to persuade me further when she was interrupted by the maid's announcement. It turned out that Han Sheng's mother had arrived unexpectedly. After 5 years apart, She carried herself with even more grandeur than before. When she saw me, the smile on her face did not reach her eyes, seeing me looking haggard and sick in bed. She took out a handkerchief to cover her nose and mouth. Mother frowned and asked, "What brings Madame Han here today?" Only then did she suddenly realize and say, "Miss Shen's sickly appearance startled me so much that I nearly forgot the real reason for my visit. I came out of concern for the friendship our families once shared. To kindly remind Miss Shen that times have changed, my son Sheng has already secured a marriage arrangement with the princess. Now, Sheng and the princess are deeply in love." She looked me over and added, "Miss Shen, even if it's just as a concubine, don't harbor any more illusions." "Madame Han," Mother interrupted her, standing up angrily. I quickly tugged at her sleeve, signaling her not to act. I forced a light-hearted smile, suppressing the metallic taste of blood in my throat, and tried to keep my voice steady as I said, "Rest assured, Madame Han, as the legitimate daughter of the Prime Minister's household, I would never stoop to becoming someone's concubine." Only after receiving my promise did Madame Han finally leave with satisfaction. It was a stark contrast to the angry, sleeve-fluttering departure she made from my family's doorstep years ago, when I broke off the engagement and Han Sheng requested an imperial decree to leave the capital. I suppose this time, she must have finally gotten her wish. After she left, my mother held me, her heart aching as she couldn't stop her tears from falling. 5 years ago, I accidentally fell victim to a deadly poison known as Thousand Mechanisms powder, a toxin for which there is no cure once contracted. Its venomous patterns would gradually spread from my feet upward to my face, until they covered my entire body, leading to a slow, weak death. My father sought out renowned physicians far and wide, yet there was still no cure to be found. Even with medication, it could only slow the spread of the venomous marks. If Han Sheng knew, he would spare no effort to try and change my inevitable fate, but the outcome would only bring him greater pain. I didn't want to burden Han Sheng, so I begged my parents to keep my poisoning a secret. To make him give up, I lied and told him I had fallen for the heir of the Marquis of Dingnan, resolutely breaking off our engagement. Han Sheng and I grew up together since childhood sweethearts with a deep bond. Mrs. Han and my mother were close friends since their youth. After I broke off the engagement, she was furious. She even went so far as to bring the matter before the emperor, demanding an explanation from me. At my pleading, my parents concealed the true reasons for my actions. They simply said that Han Sheng and I were not well suited, and as a gesture of apology, the Prime Minister's residence would present generous gifts. In Lady Han's eyes, this undoubtedly confirmed my fickleness. From then on, she not only severed her friendship with my mother, but also embellished and spread the story many times in front of many noble ladies. The name Shen Yanran became a cautionary tale in the education of daughters from noble families. The story of Han Sheng and me has become a topic of conversation for everyone in the capital after meals. Over the years, I have long lost count of how many times the poison has flared up. Each time I cough up blood, the poison marks creep a little higher. What has kept me enduring all these years of suffering is the hope of seeing him one more time. Every time I fell into a coma from the poison, my mother would hold my hand, crying and repeating, Ran, you have to hold on a little longer. You said you would wait for Han Sheng to return and personally welcome him home. He's won another battle at the front, and he'll be back soon. Ran, you must wake up." Every time I heard these words, I fought desperately against my own fading consciousness. In the end, they all managed to pull themselves back from the gates of hell. Then, gazing at the poison marks spreading wildly across their bodies, they counted the days they had left. Fortunately, after waiting for 5 years, the day finally came when Han Sheng returned triumphantly to the capital. Even though he had been granted a marriage, mock me if you will, scorn me if you must, I am still grateful that he returned safely, that I could see him one last time before I die. The general's mansion was bustling with preparations for the wedding. It is said that, to show her joy with the people, the princess decreed that all the taverns along the 10-mile-long street would be free of charge for the 3 days of the grand wedding. This is undoubtedly a great blessing for the common people. Every street and alley praises them as a match made in heaven. As for me, the blind former fiancé, they are filled with contempt. Do you think the eldest daughter of the Shen family is now regretting it so much that her intestines are turning green? That's for sure. General Han has achieved remarkable feats at such a young age, and now he is about to marry the princess. His future is truly boundless. There were even bold storytellers who exaggerated our past in tea houses, spreading tales far and wide. When all of this reached my ears, I simply smiled with indifference. After all, the days left are not many. Let others say what they will. There is 1 month left until Han Sheng and the princess's wedding day. Without telling my parents, I forced myself to sneak to the body temple to offer incense. At the foot of the 1,000-step staircase, I am as insignificant as an ant. With every 3 steps, I bow once. With every thought, I pray devoutly. Each prayer for Han Sheng. I know Han Sheng hates me, just as he did 5 years ago. On the day I broke off the engagement, it was pouring rain. He stood in the rain outside the mansion gate for a full day and night, only to receive a message I sent through a servant. I said that as the esteemed daughter of the Prime Minister's household, I could not bring myself to marry a young general who had yet to earn any military achievements. Only someone like Su Zun, the heir of the Marquis of Dingnan, who has caught the Emperor's eye, is a suitable match for me. He stood frozen in place for a long time but said nothing more. He turned and left, his figure disappearing into the curtain of rain, but he didn't know that it was also the moment he turned away. I stood at the entrance of the mansion, weeping uncontrollably. Such resolute words, I couldn't even bring myself to say them while looking into his bloodshot eyes. Later, the entire capital knew that I, Shen Yanran, had betrayed him. He, Han Sheng, also came to despise me to the core. Before the army set off, I stood on the city tower watching him go. Upon seeing my figure, he withdrew his gaze with disgust, then pulled out the jade comb that symbolized our love from his chest and smashed it to pieces, letting the war horses behind him trample it freely. With memories flooding back, I finally knelt on the 999th step, unable to tell whether it was from exhaustion or pain. Sweat dripped from my forehead onto the stone steps. As I rose from kneeling once more, I caught sight of Han Sheng. His indifferent expression confirmed that I was not dreaming. I quickly tightened my cloak and averted my gaze from him. Watching my movements, he sneered, "Given Miss Shen's current appearance, there is truly no need for such caution against this general. It is entirely unnecessary." I lowered my gaze, concealing the emotions in my eyes. In truth, he didn't need to say it. I already knew what I looked like, gaunt and pale as a ghost. I must have been an eyesore to him. I was about to step aside when he suddenly grabbed my wrist instead. A mocking voice sounded above my head. "Su Zun is married, and your dream of becoming a princess consort has been shattered." I never cared whether Su Zun was married or not, but he seems to be better informed than I am. His voice was as cold as ice. "Shen Yanran, do you regret it?" Hearing his question, I fell into silence. If I had selfishly stayed by his side back then, he would have only buried himself for my sake. Now he holds military power and is at the peak of his life. The purpose I had back then has already been achieved, so how could I possibly regret it? However, he clearly misunderstood my silence, his cold voice tinged with resentment. "Speechless, aren't you? But fortunately, you were blind to the truth. Otherwise, how would I have secured the marriage with Princess Heping?" "Shen Yanran, tell me, shouldn't I thank you?" "Yes, back then I did everything I could to push Sheng away. He is happy, and I should be glad for him. Yet, hearing that he is to marry the princess, a pang of sour ache still stirs in my heart." Lowering my head to look at his hand gripping my wrist, I steady my voice and say, "General Han, please show some restraint. You're hurting me." As soon as the words fell, he snorted coldly and, as if in retaliation, shook off my hand. The sheer force of a martial artist made me lose my balance and fall backward uncontrollably. Behind me were 1,000 stone steps. Before I fell, I saw a flicker of panic flash through Han Sheng's eyes, and his hand instinctively reached out to grab mine, but it was too late. My body slammed heavily onto the stone steps. I tumbled down dozens of steps before coming to a stop. My palms and forehead were scraped, oozing with a glaring trail of blood, within my line of sight. I unexpectedly saw Han Sheng striding quickly toward me. He nervously half knelt down, reaching out to help me up. I froze, meeting his gaze filled with concern. Suddenly, he came to his senses and immediately clenched his half-extended hand into a fist, pulling it back. His face also returned to an expression of complete indifference. That brief moment of concern from just now seemed like an illusion. I adjusted my cloak, making sure he wouldn't notice the slightest hint of anything unusual. He turned his head away, as if unwilling to look at me. "It's good that you're not injured. That way, Minister Shun won't have any reason to cause trouble for this general in court." I pursed my lips and said nothing. Once again, I knelt down, enduring the pain all over my body. I resumed the ritual of taking 3 steps and making 1 kowtow. Climbing back up the steps I had rolled down, Han Sheng looked at my stubbornness, and for some reason, a surge of anger rose within him. "If you're hoping the gods and Buddhas will bless you with a wealthy husband soon, you can forget it. The gods do not save those who betray their promises." He shot me a disgusted glance before heading straight down the mountain. He was right, I had broken our vow and abandoned our engagement. So I do not seek to spend this life with him. I pray to all the gods and Buddhas to bless Han Sheng with a lifetime of peace, joy, and carefree years. This time, I was unconscious for a full 3 days. The poison marks have already spread behind my ears, and I have truly reached the point where the oil is exhausted and the lamp is about to go out. My father gathered over a dozen of the finest physicians from various regions to attend to me in my courtyard. My mother, in turn, stayed by my bedside day and night, never even changing her clothes. I could not keep down any food, and soon I was reduced to nothing but skin and bones. What kept me alive was nothing more than a faint, lingering breath. I lay beneath the pear blossom tree, quietly savoring the last rays of sunlight. Yet what arrived even sooner than death was the summons from Princess Ningping. Princess Ningping was the most beloved treasure of the current emperor. Offending her would inevitably leave one vulnerable to criticism. I don't want to drag around a half-dead body and cause more trouble for my father. After comforting my parents, I went out with the support of Bijie. Princess Ningping arranged to meet me at the most famous Wangyu Tower in the capital. When I arrived, she was sitting in the main seat, enjoying the singing and dancing on the stage below. I bowed respectfully, but she did not respond. She seemed completely absorbed in the performance below, leaving me kneeling there all the while. The fire in the warm chamber was too strong, and fine beads of sweat broke out on my forehead. My eyelids grew heavier and heavier. As the song ended, she seemed to remember that someone was still kneeling. Her scrutinizing gaze fell upon me. "Miss Shin, you seem to have grown quite thin. Thank you for your concern, Princess." She downed the wine in her hand, her voice turning a few degrees colder. "Does Miss Shin know that I and General Han are about to be married?" "Your Highness, I am aware." I replied truthfully. I heard that Miss Shin and General Han grew up together and were once engaged. The tone of this sentence is too probing, carrying a barely perceptible hint of displeasure. I quickly prostrated myself on the ground. "Your Highness, the marriage arrangement between this humble subject and General Han has long been annulled. I beg you, Miss Shin." "Why are you so flustered?" she interrupted me. "This princess does not care about your previous engagement, after all. The matter of Miss Shin's fickleness has already caused quite a stir and is known to all. This princess believes General Han will likely never forget the sorry state he was in back then." She toyed with the wine glass in her hand, speaking somewhat absent-mindedly. "What I care about is the feelings you once shared." She emphasized the last 2 words. Many people knew about my relationship with Han Sheng. From childhood, I was certain that I would only marry him in this lifetime. He also said that in this lifetime, he would marry no one but me. And now, I clenched the fabric at my sleeve and spoke against my heart. "It was just the ignorance of a child. Please do not take it seriously, Princess." Upon hearing this, Princess Ningping suddenly burst into laughter. Her laughter exaggerated and piercing. After a long while, she spoke toward the screen. "General Han, you heard everything, didn't you?" My heart sank, plummeting to the depths. Han Sheng emerged from behind the screen, his face dark and gloomy. Princess Ningping watched the scene unfold with a look of amusement, her gaze shifting between the two of us. She said, "Han Sheng, I truly never imagined that your childhood sweetheart could be so ruthless." Han Sheng stood beside me, his fists clenched tightly. I could even hear the sound of his bones creaking. If not for reason holding him back, I have no doubt he would have strangled me on the spot. He said, "Your Highness is wise. What Miss Shin said is correct. It was just a child's playful words, not to be taken seriously. This general only regrets having mistaken a fisheye for a pearl all these years, wasting so much time." His words were like a needle, piercing my heart without warning. So he truly hates me to this extent. I tried hard to hold back the tears in my eyes, forcing out a somewhat unnatural smile. I wish the princess and the general 100 years of harmony and many children to bring blessings. After saying these words, I completely lost all my strength. Just as I was about to take my leave, Princess Ningping spoke again. I've heard too many dry, empty blessings. Is Miss Shen so insincere? I frowned almost imperceptibly, unsure of what she meant. Princess Ningping appeared to ponder for a moment before saying, I've heard that Miss Shen is skilled in dance. Why not perform a piece to celebrate my union with General Han? Her request was truly absurd, not to mention that this is not a grand palace banquet, and it would be improper for a lady of noble birth to dance here like a courtesan. Just considering my own condition, I can barely walk properly, let alone dance. I shook my head hastily. Your Highness, I am unwell and truly unfit to offend your eyes with my performance. The next moment, clang, a golden cup crashed to the ground before me. How dare you be so insolent before this princess? Her gaze shifted to Han Sheng's face. General Han, what do you think? I could feel Han Sheng's eyes fixed upon me. Disgust, disdain, impatience, they felt like knives, wanting to flay me alive. He spoke coldly. The princess asking you to dance is an honor. Don't be ungrateful. I lowered my gaze, fixing my eyes on my clasped hands. In my youth, whether I was right or wrong, Han Sheng always took my side. Now, with my encouragement, he has finally shown favor to someone else. Isn't this exactly what I wanted to see? So why does my heart feel as heavy as if a massive stone were pressing down on it? With a pale face, I knelt upright and said, Your Highness, I truly feel unwell. Please forgive my indisposition. Han Sheng snorted coldly and sneered. Miss Shen, aren't you always the type to flatter the powerful and trample on the weak? How is it that even a princess can't command you now? Seeing my silence, Han Sheng said angrily, Shen Yanran, you must dance today. With those words, he grabbed my cloak and yanked it off forcefully. I screamed at the top of my lungs, don't, but it was already too late. As the cloak was forcefully pulled open, the black venomous patterns covering my neck were completely exposed to the air. In an instant, Han Sheng widened his eyes, staring fixedly at my somewhat terrifying neck. The entire person froze in place. This scene happened to be witnessed by my parents, who had rushed over out of concern for me. For the first time, my father lost his composure in front of others. Disregarding the princess's presence, he slapped Han Sheng hard across the face. Ran has been poisoned and is so weak, yet you still dare to bully her. I will definitely take this matter to the Golden Hall and demand justice for my daughter. With that, my father quickly picked me up and hurried back. As we were leaving, I heard Han Sheng say, by any means necessary, fine. In his heart, it's just as well that I'm seen as a woman who will stop at nothing. When I was brought back to the Prime Minister's residence, the poison marks began to crawl up my face at a visible speed. One after another, physicians took my pulse, only to shake their heads helplessly. I smiled weakly, reaching out to wipe away the tears they had shed. Father, Mother, please take me to the pear blossom tree in the courtyard. I want to see the pear blossoms bloom once more. They knew there was no turning back now. After exchanging a glance, they nodded sorrowfully. Lying beneath the pear blossom tree, my thoughts drifted back to the past. Han Sheng had always been almost too willing to grant my every wish since we were young. I once saw a pear blossom tree in the Empress's palace that had lived for 100 years. When the pear blossoms bloomed, the entire tree was covered in snow-white flowers, as beautiful as snow. I gazed at it in a daze for a long time. At that time, the court was too busy, and my mother, managing the household, was also exhausted. I was at an age too shy to make demands, so the matter was left unresolved. Later, I happened to mention it to him, but at the time, I didn't take it to heart. Little did I know that while the speaker had no intention, the listener took it to heart. I underestimated the sincerity of that young boy's feelings for me. He had someone bring over a pear sapling and said, if Ran wants something, just say it. If I can give you a little, I won't let you be left with empty hopes. At that moment, I stood there in a daze, watching his back as he dug the hole. And naturally, I saw his ears flushed bright red. Together, we planted this pear tree. So many years have passed, and unlike the shattered feelings between me and Han Sheng, it grows more and more lush, and when the wind blows, it looks as beautiful as a painting. I often think it's even more beautiful than the one in the Empress's palace. right here. I slowly close my eyes. Perhaps in this dream from which I won't wake, I can give us a better ending. Shun Nianran lived only 20 years in this lifetime. The day of her funeral happened to coincide with the wedding day of Han Sheng and the princess. According to custom, a royal wedding is a major event, and public mourning should be set aside. But the Shun couple refused. They had only this one daughter. There are two major events in a person's life. Shun Nianran did not marry, so in this life, she had only one important day left, her funeral. Prime Minister Shun was a veteran of two dynasties and a key minister in the court. The emperor turned a blind eye and allowed it. The street was bustling with noise and excitement as the princess's attendants scattered wave after wave of copper coins all over the ground. The crowd scrambled to grab them, shouting, "Long live the princess!" In contrast, Shun Nianran's funeral procession seemed far too insignificant. White paper money was scattered into the wind, only to be quickly trampled underfoot by the crowd. Han Sheng sat astride a tall, majestic horse, exuding an imposing presence. As the bridal sedan and the coffin passed each other, he seemed to sense something and glanced back, but his view was blocked by the dense crowd of commoners. At the banquet that day, not a single person from the Prime Minister Shun's residence came to offer congratulations. Han Sheng felt something was off. Logically speaking, it was Shun Nianran who had wronged him back then, and out of guilt, Prime Minister Shun often spoke up for him in court. He also greatly admired Prime Minister Shun's character, therefore, he was willing to maintain some relationship with the Prime Minister's residence. But today he is marrying the princess, and by all accounts, the Prime Minister's residence should not have made no gesture at all. He found it a bit strange, but his doubts were interrupted by the numerous and complicated matters at hand. 3 days after the wedding, Han Sheng accompanied Princess Ningping back to the palace to meet the Emperor and Empress. After the formalities were completed, the Emperor dismissed all attendants, leaving only Princess Ningping to speak with him. Have the Empress take Han Sheng for a stroll in the Imperial Garden first. After the Empress agreed, she brought Han Sheng to the Phoenix Palace. It was here that he saw the pear blossom tree in the Empress's palace, pure white and lush. It was indeed beautiful. Just as that person had said, suddenly, the name he had been trying to ignore surfaced in his mind. He frowned slightly and averted his gaze. The Empress noticed his unusual expression and asked with a faint smile, "What is it, General Han? Do you find this pear blossom tree of mine unappealing?" Han Sheng quickly denied it. "Your Majesty's tree is exceptionally well tended. It is only that I, Han Sheng, am a coarse man, unskilled in the art of appreciation." The Queen looked at him for a long moment before asking tentatively, "General Han, is it that you don't know how to appreciate it, or are you reminded of someone by the sight of it?" Han Sheng didn't understand what she meant. The Queen continued, "Ningping is not my daughter, and I have never regarded her as my own. So," she paused, "there's no need for you to hide it in front of me. The one you love in your heart is Nian Ran." Han Sheng quickly knelt down. "Your Majesty, please understand." Han Sheng was graciously granted the honor by His Majesty to marry Princess Ningping, and I dare not harbor any other improper thoughts. The Empress shook her head helplessly and said nothing more. After a long while, she sighed and said calmly, "I have said all I need to say, and now I am tired. Go to the Hall of Mental Cultivation to find His Majesty and Ningping." "Yes." Han Sheng felt somewhat puzzled by the Empress's words. But he didn't ask further and still went to the Hall of Mental Cultivation. Upon reaching the door, he noticed there were no guards stationed there, likely because the Emperor and Princess Ningping had not yet finished their conversation. He hesitated about whether to push the door open when he overheard the conversation inside. The Emperor's voice was icy. "You must quickly find a way to win Han Sheng's trust now. Don't forget, obtaining the military tally is the task I assigned you." The Emperor wants Princess Ningping to steal the military tally. Indeed, when the birds are gone, the bow is put away. The border conflicts had just been quelled, and the Emperor was already beginning to fear that his achievements might overshadow the throne. If you want the military tally, just say so. Why go through all this trouble? Even if he harbored no rebellious intentions, as long as he held military power, the Emperor would find no peace. Han Sheng ultimately felt somewhat disheartened and remained silent. Princess Ningping said, "Father, Han Sheng's heart ultimately belongs to that wretched woman Shun Nianran. Though he appears to respect me greatly, there is not much genuine affection in his heart. Put away your romantic sentiments. Sincerity is one thing, but obtaining the military seal is another." His voice grew even colder. "Besides, what is there to compete with a dead person? Get things done as soon as possible." "Shun Nianran is dead." Han Sheng froze in place, his heart suddenly skipping a beat, followed by a dense, piercing pain. At this moment, what flashed through his mind was not the harm Shun Nianran had caused him, but the countless little moments they had once shared together. How could the person who had hurt him the most just die like that? He had only just found out now. He felt something was very wrong as he came to his senses. The Prime Minister's daughter had passed away. Why hadn't he heard even a whisper of it? He wanted to rush in and demand an explanation, but the voices inside the room cut him off once more. Princess Ningping said viciously, "It's all because that wretched woman was so tenacious. Even after we poisoned her with something as deadly as the 1,000 mechanisms powder, she didn't die right away and managed to cling to life for 5 more years. If Han Sheng finds out she's dead, who knows if his hatred will just fade away." Shun Nianran was actually poisoned by them. But why? She was just a young lady from a boudoir. How could she have gotten in their way? 1,000 machine powder, he had heard of it while at the border. Once poisoned, no medicine could cure it, but this poison is too rare and hard to come by. Only those in high positions can obtain it. Yet it was used on a weak woman who couldn't even harm a chicken. He suddenly remembered the last time he saw Shun Nianran. At that time, he clearly saw the poison marks on her body, yet he was blinded by hatred, even accusing her of resorting to any means necessary. If seizing the military token before had left him heartbroken, now it was undoubtedly stabbing him in the heart, one cut at a time. He could hardly restrain himself from pushing open the door to uncover the whole truth, but reason pulled him back. No, he must investigate everything thoroughly. Suppressing the pain in his heart, he pretended as if nothing had happened and returned to the mansion with Princess Ningping, to avoid alerting anyone. He turned to a trusted military advisor within the army to investigate everything, and as for him, it was time to pay a visit to the Prime Minister's residence. The Shun residence still hung with white funeral banners, that piercing white seeming to stab into his eyes. When he entered, Lady Shun was burning paper offerings in the ancestral hall. The newest memorial tablet bore the stark inscription, "Spirit Tablet of beloved daughter Shun Nianran." It was all true. Shun Nianran was truly dead. He felt as if a part of his body had been hollowed out, as though his very soul had been drained away. Lady Shun sensed his arrival but did not turn around. Her gaze remained fixed on her daughter's memorial tablet. Filled with sorrow, she said mockingly, "The imperial son-in-law is now at the height of his power. Why bother troubling my daughter?" Han Shin's lips moved slightly. He wanted to say something but didn't know how to begin. His eyes were red, his tone full of regret. "I truly didn't know Nianran was poisoned. If I had known back then, I would have dropped everything to help her find a cure. I would never have." Nianran knew. Madame Shin cut him off. She stood up and walked over to him, saying, "Nianran knew you would do this, which is why she tried so hard to keep it from you." Han Sheng frowned, not understanding what this meant. Why didn't she tell him after discovering she was poisoned? That was when they loved each other the most. Why would she hide it from him? Madame Shen explained, "She knew you wouldn't abandon her, and because of your devotion, she was determined not to burden you, so she begged her father and me never to breathe a word of it to anyone, to make you give up. She even went so far as to tarnish her own reputation, claiming she had grown fickle and changed her heart. This poison has no cure. If you found out, you'd only waste time searching for an antidote. If she died by your side, you'd spend the rest of your life haunted by her memory. Nianran couldn't bear the thought of you burying your talents because of her. She would never rest in peace if that happened." Han Sheng clenched his fists, hating himself for not being more resolute back then, for not uncovering the truth. He had simply believed her words, thinking she was a heartless and ungrateful woman. If he hadn't been so confused back then, they wouldn't have, but there are no ifs. His beloved Ranran would never return. Mrs. Shen brought Han Sheng to Shun Nianran's courtyard. He saw the pear blossom tree they had planted together. As if sensing his presence, a petal drifted down with the wind and landed before him. He reached out to catch it, the stark white in his rough palm appearing exceptionally fragile. Madame Shen took out a box and handed it to Han Sheng. "These are the things Ranran left behind." He carefully took it, and the moment he opened it, The general who had fought countless battles on the battlefield shed tears. Inside, there were only two items, a piece of soft armor, and the jade comb he had shattered. Mrs. Shun caressed the soft armor, her heart aching as she said, "On the day you set out for battle 5 years ago, Ran wanted to personally give this soft armor to you, but she didn't dare. In the end, she could only keep it in her hands, over these 5 years." The question she most often asked her father was about the war reports from the front lines. If the army was at a disadvantage, she would worry endlessly, fasting and praying to the Buddha. If news of victory came from the front, she could be happy for days. Han Sheng could almost picture it. Back then, she was so foolish, enduring the agony of the poison's onset, waiting obsessively for any news about her. That jade comb, their token of love, was shattered into pieces right before her eyes by him. He could imagine that after the army left, she would have picked up the broken pieces of the jade comb with a handkerchief, then sat under the oil lamp, carefully mending it. The jade comb was shattered beyond recognition, wrapped round and round with fine golden threads. Would she blame him then for his cold-heartedness and ruthlessness? The last words Madame Shun spoke were, "Ran said that in this lifetime, she only ever wanted to marry you." Han Sheng's tall figure stiffened for a moment. In the end, he broke the vows they had made. He had hurt the one he loved most, and the one who loved him most in return. After Madame Shun left, he lay alone beneath the pear blossom tree. This was Ran's favorite place. Now he lay here, seeming a little closer to her. The strategist worked quickly, delivering all the secrets of these years into Han Sheng's hands. He sighed and said, "Before the general reads these, it's best to be prepared." Han Sheng tightened his grip on the letter, wondering just how many things he still didn't know. The truth is often more cruel. It turns out that back then, Han Sheng's father, General Han, had his military power stripped by the emperor out of suspicion after a major victory over the enemy. He became an empty shell with a title but no real authority, gradually losing his spirit. That's why his childhood engagement with Shun Yanran received the emperor's approval. But later, when he was discussing marriage with Shun Yanran, the border unrest was gradually escalating. The court was in urgent need of talent, and at that time, Han Sheng was the most outstanding among the military officers. If the general's mansion and the prime minister's mansion were to form an alliance through marriage, allowing him to gain military power, the emperor truly could not rest easy. To prevent the dragon throne from becoming unstable and the world changing hands, he must find a way to satisfy both sides, ensuring the two families cannot marry, so he can use Han Sheng with peace of mind. Thus, he set his sights on Shun Yanran. To an emperor, she was merely a woman. If she died, she died. He left no room for maneuver, directly administering the 1000 mechanism powder. But he never expected that Shun Yanran was not deeply poisoned and did not die immediately, just as he was considering whether to strike again. An unexpected piece of good news came from outside the palace. Shun Yanran wanted to break off the engagement. The well-informed emperor immediately understood what was happening, so he granted her heartfelt wish. He gave Han Sheng real power. Han Sheng did not disappoint, frequently sending news of victories and defeating the enemy forces. The emperor then married Princess Ningping, who had always been devoted to Han Sheng, to him. All that remained was for Princess Ningping to find an opportunity to steal the military tally before the crime of the general's mansion could be prosecuted. From beginning to end, everyone was merely a tool of the emperor. After reading all the evidence, Han Sheng's eyes nearly burst with rage, and he suddenly vomited a mouthful of blood. He avoided the hand of his strategist trying to support him, staring at the black ink on white paper now stained with blood. Everything had been destroyed by the very sovereign he had sworn loyalty to. His Ran, only 15 years old, had been counted as a piece in this game of chess. She clearly knew nothing at all. Han Sheng returned to his residence like a walking corpse. Just as he reached the study door, he heard rustling sounds. As expected, it was Princess Ningping. Seeing Han Sheng enter, she tried to find an excuse to defend herself, but Han Sheng immediately seized her by the neck. His voice was as cold as ice. "Does the princess know that stealing the military tally is a capital offense?" Princess Ningping, choked by his grip, struggled to breathe and kept trying to pry his hand away. But how could she resist? In no time, her face turned a deep, suffused red from lack of air. Han Sheng took out a porcelain bottle. which contained the 1,000 mechanisms powder he had asked the military strategist to find. He forcefully pried open Princess Ningping's mouth and poured half of it down. He spoke softly. "Why don't you guess, Princess, who the other half of this 1,000 mechanism powder is for?" Only then did Princess Ningping realize what she had just been forced to swallow. She desperately clawed at her own throat, trying to vomit it out. Unfortunately, it was too late, and everything was in vain. She shouted at Han Sheng, "If you dare to poison me and my father, you will be killing your wife and your sovereign." As soon as the words fell, Han Sheng reached out and lifted her up. "You really know the whole truth. You are your father's accomplice." Ningping knew that everything had been exposed. She began to show weakness. "Han Sheng, I am your wife. How can you hurt me because of an outsider? Look, I'll go back to the palace and persuade my father not to take away your military power. Okay, let's be together properly, and you can still be the general with real authority." Her plea for mercy did not earn a shred of pity from Han Sheng. He pushed her to the ground in disgust, then he had her taken to the dungeon to await death. She should also suffer the agony of being slowly eroded. Han Sheng has rebelled. With military power in hand and the support of Minister Shen, he stormed into the Golden Yuan Hall in one fell swoop. Han Sheng looked at him, the anger in his chest no longer controllable. He placed the blade of his sword against the emperor's neck, and the emperor, stroking the dragon throne, uttered his final words. "If you become the ruler, you will not be merciful either." The next moment, he took his own life with the sword. Han Sheng looked coldly at the lifeless emperor and said, "A ruler may be unkind, but one must not slaughter the innocent," and he would never sit on that throne, because that throne was stained with the blood of the one he loved most. Soon, the new emperor ascended the throne. Han Sheng looked at the Empress Dowager, who had been promoted to the position of Empress Dowager, and said calmly, "This is my gratitude to you." There was not a trace of sorrow in the Empress Dowager's eyes over the emperor's passing. She even offered him a faint smile. Forced to remain in the depths of the palace for many years, she had long grown accustomed to the unspeakable. It was just that the little girl standing under the pear blossom tree many years ago truly made her feel pity. Later, when she broke off the engagement, she always believed the little girl had her reasons. When she accidentally discovered the truth, she was overwhelmed with grief and felt nothing but disgust for the person lying beside her. As the ruler of the world, to use such despicable means against a young girl, she found it utterly contemptible. If such a person were to rule the land, how could there ever be a peaceful and prosperous era? That's why I deliberately let Han Sheng discover the truth that day, so that my conscience could be somewhat at ease. Han Sheng returned to the body temple once more. He imitated Shen Yanran's posture, kneeling in the very spot where she had once knelt. 3 steps, 1 bow. The difference is, he has nothing to ask for in his heart. His beloved is suffering in silence, yet he has heartlessly caused her pain. This time, he has come to atone for his sins. They had once agreed that before their wedding, they would devoutly come to the body temple to pray, asking the Buddha to bless their marriage. That time they met at the body temple was him trying to fulfill his own dream. The one he had always wanted to marry was his Ranran. Han Sheng had always thought he was the only one trapped in the past, believing that Shen Yanran had long forgotten their promise. No matter what, he was gravely mistaken. Under the marriage tree at Body Temple, he saw the marriage slip that Shen Yanran had once hung there, after seeing the slightly blurred words on it from the rain. The corner of his mouth curved slightly as he took it down and brought it back. He lay under the pear blossom tree they had planted together, letting the snow-white petals fall on his head, because what was written on it was, "May I grow old with Han Sheng." After hearing the 2 stories above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.